Welcome to another edition of Three the Hard Way, and as always, I got my fellas with me. Couldn't do the show without them. Coach Hot Rod, Rodney Young, and Mr. Terrence Austin T. What's up, fellas? What's up?
What's up, gentlemen, and what's up, everyone out there in radio airwaves? What's happening? What's happening?
Yo, Three the Hard Way, always. We get this thing started. You know, all these other sports talks, I ain't gonna dog them, but they not better than us. So let's go ahead and get this thing started.
That's right, man.
Mine's done.
That's right, man. But before we get started, you know, I'm a big self-reflection guy, and I always try to pay homage to people that have just been really important in my life. I have to wish Mrs. Austin, T's mom, a happy birthday.
81.
81, a tremendous woman, made a real big impact in my life. Couldn't ask for a better next door neighbor. Happy birthday, Mrs. Austin.
Appreciate it.
Mrs. Austin, happy birthday. Hold on, we got to get a round of applause for that. Yes.
All right, yeah.
81
happy
years
birthday.
Young. Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, fellas, listen. Well, we've got our matchups in the NBA Finals. I don't know how many people out there would have picked these two teams, OKC Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, at the beginning of the season. You know, everybody was talking about probably OKC at the start of the season. But I think in the Eastern Conference, they probably had the Boston Celtics. You know, I think Indiana Pacers are the Cinderella team or the surprise team, whatever you want to call them. But I think there are people that are a little bit disappointed in the matchup in terms of it being the sexy franchises, so to speak. I'm looking forward to the finals, because you got two franchises that can score the rock in the Indiana Pacers and OKC. I think OKC has the advantage. I think OKC is going to win the finals, but I think the Indiana Pacers are going to battle them the way. I don't know how many games it's going to go, but I know the series is going to be entertaining. What are you guys looking forward to in this series?
Well, first of all, it's something last night with watching the game and being a Cavs fan. I said, wow, you know, I wish my Cavs were here. But as I'm watching these two teams go at it out there on the floor, L Train and Rod, I said, hey, my team just wasn't ready. Because I saw toughness out there. I saw, you know, how would I put it? Guys that are kind of hobbled, still going at it, diving for loose balls, playing defense, you know, no matter what the crowd was doing. I just saw two teams just really, really fighting. And I had to ask myself, were our Cavaliers ready for that? And I just don't think so. And it kind of saddens me. So, you know, I hope they were watching too. And they have a lot of work to do in the offseason, okay? Outside of Donovan Mitchell, you know, those guys just got to get tough. They got to get tough and get ready to really, really fight. It's kind of like a ship, you know, sail smoothly in shallow and easygoing seas. But when those seas get rough, can you really, really battle? Yeah, can you really, really battle out there? So, you know, hey, I said, man, my team, I wish we were there, but I don't think we were quite ready for that. Now, going forward, I'm looking forward to it because, again, yes, OKC, I think, is the better team and the favorite, but Indiana's going to be in every game. They're going to be in it. Yeah, they're going to be in it. They're going to have something to say. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's not the sexy pick, but hey, I think they're going to battle, and I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana won. Okay, and I'm kind of rooting for them because I'm not ready for SGA and those young kids to win it yet. I'm not ready for them. Yeah, so I'm rooting for Indiana, and I think Indiana can get them. What do you say, Rod? I think they can get them.
Rod, you smiling. You smiling with that take. What's going on?
Well, you know, I watched Indiana. I watched that last game, and I was really impressed. Like I said, with the Pacers, and how they performed. I'm still sticking with my pick, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they just have a complete team. I think if you cut the head off the snake in Indiana, which is Tyrese Halliburton, there's not really much that Indiana has behind that. Siakam's good, but see, my thing with Pascal Siakam, he comes and goes. There's ebbs and flows with him. Like he had this last game was pretty decent. Game 5 was not. Game 3, Siakam showed up. Game 2, he didn't.
Kind
So
of like
I
how
can't
Luol
really.
Deng used to be, in and out, in and
Yeah, I
out.
can't I
Yeah.
can't really ride on Pascal Siakam. And although, like I said, he has the opportunity of doing something great, I still think in Indiana the head of the snake is Tyrese Halliburton. If you can control him, then you can control that group. Now, Ben Mathurin is actually starting to appear to become a player in the NBA. I watched him last night and he showed up, and Ben Mathurin has been showing up pretty much during the series. Both series, even the Cavaliers series, Mathurin showed up. I just, for some reason, cannot discount what Oklahoma City has done in a very tough Western Conference. Minnesota threw their best punch at OKC and it didn't phase them. And so I see, if we do early predictions, and once again, it's ebbs and flows, it changes.
It's fluid.
Yeah, I'm calling OKC in 6. I think Indiana will possibly steal a game at OKC, but I also believe OKC will get one in Indiana. So it actually, comes down to the coaches. And to me, Indiana's coach has the edge. But I just can't. As much as I want to, because it would, as a Cavalier fan, it would make me feel better to say, okay, we lost to the NBA champions. That's who we lost to. It would pacify me, okay? But
Definitely me. Definitely me.
yeah, it would
love
pacify me saying, okay, we got eliminated by the NBA champs. But I'm calling Oklahoma City in 6.
Great takes from the both of you guys. T, I love what you said when, in the moment you were probably really disappointed that the Cleveland Cavaliers lost.
Very.
But now that you see the Indiana Pacers and who they are in the finals, now you see that the Cavaliers probably weren't ready. I take the same take with SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder, but more specifically SGA and where he is with his game and his maturity, and where Anthony Edwards is with his game and maturity. Like, I think it's very easy to look at Ant through the regular season and be like, man, this guy, he is great. And then even in the playoffs, he had his moment. But SGA, wow, man, he just kind of had that consistency all through that series. And when you gave them both the eye test, SGA is ready for the moment, and Anthony Edwards was not ready for the moment. Heck, I did a video on, who's the GOAT between SGA and Kevin Garnett, and I think you still have to have that conversation. Edwards, he just has a long way to go with his game. And I had several debates with people on my show about this, that there are just levels to this. You can be really, really good, but there's always that elite player, always that elite team. And as good as Anthony Edwards is, I just think SGA right now is just a notch above where Anthony Edwards is. I think, Rod, I agree with you. I think OKC may just have a little bit too much, but I wouldn't be surprised, man, if the Indiana Pacers, dogs find a way to win, and Halliburton is a dog, and he's just been finding ways to will this team to win. It hasn't just been him. It's been Siakam, and I think they're well coached. But it seems like to me, whenever their backs are up against the wall, Halliburton just finds a way to come through for that basketball team.
Now, I had a question for you two guys, because you all coach basketball. Now, OKC, yeah, they are a swarming defense, and they were double teaming Ant-Man. Everywhere he went, he just had he had to fight off two players, okay? They were double teaming. Why didn't Minnesota, double team SGA? That's a question I have for you guys. Why did they not do that?
Well, in my opinion, coaching the game of basketball, the only way, I am not a coach that likes to leave players. And what I mean by that is I don't like to rotate into traps. And the only reason why you would do that is if you don't respect scoring and shooting elsewhere on the floor.
Gotcha.
I think the OKC Thunder did that to Minnesota because Minnesota had too many non-offensive players on the floor.
Right.
Mike Conley,
right.
Rudy Gobert, Dante DiVincenzo wasn't hitting his shots. Naz Reid wasn't looking like Naz Reid. So the OKC Thunder staff was like, hey, these guys aren't making shots.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so we're just going to double team Anthony Edwards. I think if the Minnesota Timberwolves did that to OKC, I think they probably would have been swept. because they had shooters all over the place. So
Right.
you just couldn't leave them. But that's my take. I don't know what you think, Rod.
No, I absolutely 100% agree. I'm the type of coach, when I coach basketball, listen, you better defend. If you can't defend, then you're not going to be on the floor. I don't have time for open wells and sieves and watching people run by other people. You had to defend. And if you start double teaming, for me, if you're double teaming one of my best players, I'm surrounding shooters around them because I want you to double team. That way, if I have a big, or if I have someone you're double teaming who is unselfish, who's going to kick the rock, I'm going to kill you. Go ahead. I'm inviting double team. So just like L Train is saying, I agree. If you double team, Ant, you didn't, DiVincenzo wasn't that double team breaker. He wasn't hitting his shots. Just like he said, Nas Reed wasn't hitting his shots. You double team SGA, you got Williams, you got Chet Holmgren, you got too many other options. That's a pick your poison. And SGA is so unselfish. He's going to kick the rock. Okay. So I just, that would not have been a good game plan. I understand what you're saying, T, but once you double team a guy, that's like you double teaming Steph Curry and leaving Klay Thompson open.
That's what made Golden State so potent.
Right.
They wanted you, they invited you to double team. Okay. So if you double team Curry, you had to deal with Klay. You can't double team Klay and Curry because then, oh, by the way, you got Kevin Durant out there. So it was a pick your poison. You couldn't do anything about it.
Okay.
Fellas, here's the scary thing. We're predicting who's going to win the finals. And, man, I thought about this week. This is scary because the OKC Thunder, they're not going anywhere, guys.
Nope.
Nope. I mean, they've built the perfect team. I mean, this smells of dynasty because you've got a young superstar in SGA. You got all your best players under rookie contracts. So you're not anywhere close to the second apron or the first apron. You've got all your draft picks, essentially. I mean, hell, I've heard rumors that OKC, if they wanted to, I wouldn't do this, but if they wanted to, they could put a package together with draft picks and a few players and go after Giannis. I mean, OKC is not going anywhere for a long time. So my question to you guys is, who do you see out there that could threaten OKC in the future? Because right now, no one's even close. I've got a team for you, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
I think I know who it is, too.
Because, because Boston is way into the second apron. I don't know how Milwaukee is falling apart. The Sixers are falling apart. Who knows what the Cavs are going to do? The Cavs are going to be in that second apron. They've got those big contracts as well. Who do you think can challenge OKC in the future?
Well, hang on, Rod. In the West now, okay, Golden State is still out there.
Yep.
Houston is coming.
Yep.
Your T-Wolves. Let me see who else. Denver's going to do something, okay? So don't count them out. And then you got the two teams in LA. So, yes, OKC is sitting on something pretty special with a ton of ancillary pieces around it. But there's other teams in the West, too, that are saying, hey, don't forget about us. So, yes, they have a bright future, but there's some other, bad boys, lurking and, gonna, give it a run as well, okay? So, again, like I say, Houston, both teams in LA, your T-Wolves, Golden State, and there's probably somebody else out there that we're just not mentioning that just not on the on the screen yet. But again, there's some competition in the West, so I ain't even thinking about the East on our side. The West is pretty well stacked.
Yeah, West is tough.
So I'm gonna say one team that I was hoping T said, but he didn't. That I think is going to eventually challenge the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's the San Antonio Spurs.
That's my team.
Yeah.
That's
the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah.
The San Antonio Spurs are building, and they are going to be that team in the Western Conference that you're going to consistently see Oklahoma City having to get by. Once you get Wembanyama healthy, you have De'Aaron Fox, and there's some other ancillary pieces that they just actually have the Rookie of the Year, and I forget that young man's name, but they've had the last couple Rookie of the Years, and now you got Pop, even though he's had health problems, he's up in the front office. That is still Greg Popovich's organization. And so I see San Antonio being a humongous threat to OKC. Now, if you want to go into the Eastern Conference, if Orlando continues on the trail that they're going, Orlando's going to be a force. I think, I'm giving Cleveland an opportunity because I think Kobe Altman's smart enough to figure it out. There's somebody in that four is going to have to be moved. We can talk about that, because I heard some rumblings about a Darius Garland trade. We talk about that later.
And Dan Gilbert means business. He's got a sour taste in his mouth for what
he does.
Dan Gilbert, and that's the one thing about the Cavaliers organization that I do respect. Dan Gilbert has never been afraid to spend money. He's never been afraid to fire people. He's never been afraid of it. He's a businessman. Milwaukee is crumbling. Philadelphia, I don't know if they can, but they need to get from up under Joel Embiid. They need to go ahead and just tear that whole thing down and start all over again, because Embiid just does not want to be elite. That's not in his mentality. Boston is pretty much done. Detroit. That's another group. JB Bickerstaff has done an absolutely fantastic job with that Pistons team. They give you a little smell of the bad boy Pistons.
Yeah.
Just the toughness. Cade Cunningham is coming into his own. But to answer your question, there's a couple teams in the Eastern Conference. I'm not giving the Cavs the tip yet, even though I'm a homer. I'm not giving it to them yet because they still soft as medicated cotton. Until they figure that out, then, I can't put them in the top echelon of anything. But that San Antonio Spurs team, look out. Look out for those guys.
Yeah, when you look at teams that start forming that dynasty, there's always that one team that makes a move where they threaten the dynasty. When the Boston Celtics had KG and Ray Allen and the boys there, the Miami Heat went and got LeBron. And that kind of offset the Boston Celtics dynasty. Here's what I think is going to happen with the Spurs. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to get this done, but the Spurs are going to make a run at Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
They are going to make a run at Giannis, and I think they have the possibility to get Giannis because all the Milwaukee Bucks really want, from what I'm hearing here in Wisconsin, is they want young players and they want draft picks for Giannis. And the Spurs can accommodate them. And I think the Spurs can get that done without giving up their core. So you're talking about the Rookie of the Year Castle. You're talking about De'Aaron Fox-Stan. You're talking about Wembanyama. Who else am I forgetting? And a couple of other players. With Giannis, that will threaten OKC's dynasty. Not saying that the Spurs are going to for sure be able to get that done, but I expect for the Spurs to be able to make a run. And if they were to get that done while keeping their nucleus in place, man.
That would threaten the entire whole NBA.
Yes, it would.
Everybody.
Yes,
it would put a stake in the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers wouldn't have a chance. They're trying to rebuild behind Luka. If you get Giannis in San Antonio, who cares what Luka does? And it at that point, it makes LeBron expendable. If you bring Giannis Antetokounmpo in San Antonio, so it would rock the entire Western Conference if San Antonio could pull that off. I want to see that happen. That's a good call, L Train.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
I think it's going to happen. I was going back and forth last year at this time with a lot of local commentators and stuff like that. We had some friendly debates, and I was against the Karl Anthony Towns trade from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think a lot of fans here in Minnesota, they were down on Karl Anthony Towns because he was this big 7-foot body that liked to stand outside and shoot threes, and he wasn't physical enough. And then there were times in the playoffs where he didn't show up. So when they sent him to the Knicks, everybody was really happy. And so my first thought was, see, you guys really don't know basketball because the best friend of any basketball player is space. And so I was always in the ballpark of getting rid of a Rudy Gobert. And I think Rudy Gobert's value on the defensive end is very valid. Rudy Gobert is one of the best defensive players in the league, but offensively, nobody respects him. The OKC Thunder weren't even guarding him in the short corners or in the paint. That's the lack of respect. So what they could do, they could stack layers against Anthony Edwards. And if they would have had Big Cat, and I know Big Cat, he's going to be due about $60 million next year, and I think that's what scared the Minnesota Timberwolves. But if you had a player in there that could stretch the floor, that opens up those gaps for Anthony Edwards and allows him to create a little bit, he really couldn't do that against the OKC Thunder. And so that's why I think Ant tended to disappear a little bit. So I'm interested to see where the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to go. You talked about the Darius Garland rumors that are out there, Rod. We could touch on that. It's going to be interesting to see what the Cavs are going to do and what the New York Knicks are going to do. But let's start with the Cavs. I heard a lot of rumors. I heard Darius Garland to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of stuff. What have you guys been hearing in Cleveland about the whole Darius Garland situation and what direction the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to go?
Yeah, I've been hearing that too. I think Rod and I both tune into Cleveland radio, but opposite stations. I've been hearing, Garland, and I've been hearing, Jared Allen too. If they could ship him off somewhere and get something, because he's who he is come playoff time. Okay, so I'm hearing that something needs to be done again, because like I say, watching Indiana and New York right now, our guys just aren't ready. They're just not ready for that. So I'm hoping that we do something. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff by way of the rumor mill that is out there. And again, like I say, one thing I do know by listening to the fan is that Dan Gilbert is not happy with what just transpired. Okay, because they're the fans now are just saying, hey, the regular season doesn't matter in Cleveland, so you guys got to do something. So he's going to do something. He is. I like Garland. I'd like to keep him, but Jared Allen, if you can package something and get us better and improve on that end, I'm all for it. So out of the core four, Jared Allen for me is the one that can go. Yeah, he had a great season. He was an Iron Man. Toughed it out from the previous season, but I'd like to move on from him because again, we need to get tough. But what do you say, Rod?
So for me, when I look at it, and I've heard, I've listened to 92.3 The Fan. I do listen to KNR, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I try to stay tapped in that way. I did hear the rumor of Darius Garland to Minnesota. I didn't hear what the pieces would be coming back. I heard about that. Darius Garland really soured himself to the Cleveland fan base just by a lot of the talking that he was doing during the playoffs while sitting on the bench. I know, there was a discussion of why didn't he play game 2 against Indiana. He could have played there. Everybody thought that he was going to play in game 2. I'm going to give him a pass on that because actually Kenny Atkinson came out and said Darius wanted to play game 2, but the doctors told him not to. They ruled him out. So that wasn't a Darius Garland thing. That was the Cavaliers playing it safe. Because if you look at, I think it was game 5, if you notice, he re-injured himself. Yeah. I believe he needs to have surgery. I think there was something more severe in that foot than people were talking about. But the Jared Allen piece is intriguing because I kind of compare to a Rudy Gobert because defensively he is the anchor in Cleveland's defensive scheme. But if he's not in pick and roll situations or lob situations, I think he led the league in field goal percentage. I think he's like 75% throughout the entire season. But if you look at how he has scored, it's either lobs or off the pick and roll. With him and Max Strus. You can't say that, okay, we need to get a bucket. We're going to post up Jared Allen and throw it down on the box. No, you're not doing that. Do I think the Cavaliers need to make a move with Jared Allen? I think they need to explore it. I think there are other pieces because they need to decide what they're going to do with Ty Jerome. They need to decide what they're going to do with Sam Merrill. I think Isaac Okoro's time here in Cleveland is done. You got to get rid of Okoro. He's an offensive liability, and so is Dean Wade. The only reason Dean Wade is hanging around is because he was 6'10", and he can defend a little bit, but he couldn't hit an outside shot. Mm-hmm. Do I think they're going to explore moving Jared Allen? Yes. At the end of the day, if you twist my arm, I'm going to be honest, and this is going to make T sick to his stomach. I think they're going to run this back with the same unit. I think they're going to run it back. I think they're going to run this team back. I think they truly believe that this team can get over the hump. They believe that this loss to Indiana is just the stepping stone of that next step for them. Okay, if they do not unlock Evan Mobley this upcoming season, it's a wrap. Because Donovan has proven that he can score, but let's be honest, Donovan got worn out in the playoffs because he tried to do too much. Darius was not there. And then you had Evan. Evan, be honest, were you as you say, L Train, when it came to Gobert in Minnesota, they didn't even guard him. Let's be perfectly honest. They didn't really guard, Evan Mobley. They really didn't. He wasn't he wasn't that guy that you're like, okay, he'll hit 1 or 2 threes, but it's not like he gonna go 4 for 6 from the 3-point line. So they
And
didn't
part of that,
care.
Rod, because maybe he wasn't 100%. He was hurt. Maybe that was part of it.
I get that, but also T, you got to think about it. At that time in the playoffs, everybody's hurt. Everybody's hurt. It's certain things that, I mean, we're not NBA players, but I mean, when we was on the court, man, we could dislocate a finger. Hey, man, tape it up. We out there the next day. Let's roll. And yes, it was an ankle. I get it. And I'm not poo-pooing on that, but he came back the game after. So you tell me one game had him heal up that fast? I don't believe that. I think he could have played. I think DeAndre Hunter could have played. Even though he dislocated his thumb, I think he could have played game 2, or game 3. So having said all that, I think the Cavs are going to run this thing back. I think they're going to change some ancillary pieces on the bench. I think you'll see more Craig Porter Jr. If they lose Ty Jerome, I think you will finally see Imani Bates brought up and they'll let him roll. They're going to fix that bench up.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and they're going to fix that Daquan Naquin. He's a 6'10" wing that they have in the G League. I think they're going to bring him up and they're going to fix the bench. That's what they're going to do, because they need guys that come off the bench that's going to contribute. And the one thing Imani Bates can do is that young brother can score. He can score with the best of them. Now, his shot selection is trash. He's not the greatest defender in the world, but even right now, he's better than Isaac Okoro offensively. So I do see the Cavs running that back.
Yeah, this whole situation, I think it's really good for the Cleveland Cavaliers brass to detach themselves away from the emotions of losing in the playoffs a lot earlier than they wanted to lose it. I think that when you look at all the trade scenarios out there for the Cleveland Cavaliers, like I just take the Minnesota Timberwolves, for example. In my opinion, and I watch the Timberwolves really closely, there is nothing on the Timberwolves roster that the Timberwolves would want to part with that the Cleveland Cavaliers should want for Darius Garland. I would rather keep Darius Garland than get any of the pieces that the Minnesota Timberwolves are willing to send the Cleveland Cavaliers way.
Right,
I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to keep their core. And I think there are a lot of people that are fans of Cleveland and that are in that front office that look at the debacle that happened in the playoffs with the Cavaliers as this. We had 3 of our core players hurt for one game. We had trouble getting the ball inbounds one game when we had the game won. And those 2 scenarios had us lose to possibly the NBA champion. Our body of work was the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, including the so-called favorites to win, the Boston Celtics. So I think there's a lot of people in that front office that feels like, hey, we've got a good team. We just can't let our emotions drive us and make bad deals. And so, Rod, I kind of agree with you, man. I think the Cavs are going to change some pieces on that bench, but I think their core, I think they're going to keep. And if it doesn't look good early, then maybe you see the Cleveland Cavaliers make some moves at the trade deadline to try to get them over the hump. But I think to start the season, I think they're going to run this thing back, man.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Yep.
Well, you got OTAs going on in the NFL, man. Great news coming out of Vikings camp. I've heard that Shedeur said, hey, I sent you guys a text, and Rod had the greatest response. For all the 3 the Hard Way fans out there, I sent Rod and Tia checks where someone had made stats of the quarterbacks during OTAs, and they compared all the quarterbacks. And long story short, the quarterback that had the best stats was our guy, Shedeur Sanders. And when I sent that to Hot Rod, his response just had me rolling on the floor. Rod, what was your thoughts on the stats, man, that I sent to you and the news that's coming out of Berea, Ohio?
So when No Train sent me the text and sent us the text, I absolutely I lost it. We're taking stats at OTAs. How thirsty are we? And I listen, I'm not going to go on a crazy rant. I'm going to give it a real short synopsis and I'm going with this. Shame on WKNR, i.e. Tony Grossi, okay, who's standing at OTAs giving stats on all 4 quarterbacks. That makes and then they published it. That made no sense. Because first of all, Shedeur Sanders only in OTAs was doing 7-on-7s. Joe Flacco and Kenny Gabriel, not Gabriel, but who's the other quarterback? Pickett.
Pickett.
Kenny Pickett, where they were doing 11 on 11s with Gabriel. Shador was doing 7 on 7s. So in 7 on 7s, if anybody's ever coached football, 7 on 7s, but they move the football. So one moment you could be at the 50, the next snap they move the ball to the 30, a third snap they might put the ball on the goal line. So how are you taking accurate stats? I mean, are we serious right now? Are we that hungry? You know, and so yeah, with L Train, when you sent me that, man, I went on Facebook and I just lost it. I just went on a rant. Because it just does not make sense. If we're that thirsty to decide the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, that's a problem, you know. How about us, you know, do stats on Quinshon Judkins? How many times did he step over the tackling dummies? Well, he gained 30 yards on a 0-on-0 drill. I mean, come on, guys. Let's sit back.
Yeah.
When we get to training camp,
right,
then start talking to me about the competitions. Then don't talk to me about OTAs. They did it during rookie mini camp. Come on, Pete. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We gotta do better, guys. Come on.
Yeah. All that's the world we live in, right? Everybody's got a camera, everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a microphone, and everybody's trying to say something. It's just like everybody's standing around a burning car. Everybody's dialing 911 or trying to put the fire out and taking pictures of it. Well, that's all that is. That's all it is, Rod. So I hear you 100%. Yeah, you're right. That's all it is. That's all it is.
But this is the genius, though, of the NFL. Think about that. This is not the only ridiculous thing. We just saw in Green Bay thousands upon thousands of people standing around to watch people get drafted. You've got fantasy football is as big as it's ever been. I'm telling you, the combine is coming. The NFL is going to find a way to make money off the NFL combines. What the NFL is really, really good at, fellas, is that they're really good at creating a hunger for the season to start. Back in the day when we were growing up, fellas, remember when the starters used to play in the preseason? They used to get one possession in the first game, a whole half of the second game, 3 quarters in the third game, and then the fourth game, they didn't play. Now, the starters, they have these joint practices where the fans really can't see the players play until the season starts. So now they're charging for these joint practices, and then your main guys that you want to see don't even play in the preseason. Man, the NFL, whoever is running their marketing campaign and behind the scenes of the dollars, they're genius. They know exactly what they're doing.
But here's the narrative, man. The narrative, especially in Cleveland, is, you know, you have the Shador Sanders camp and then you have everybody else. And so what, you know, they're trying to do, and like I said, yes, Tony Grossi is the one that I'm going after because his obvious bias is just so apparent that even Tony Rizzo had to call him out on it. And so when you start doing stats, you know, you're trying to prove a point. You're trying to say either this kid can play or this kid can't play. But to do it in OTAs just sounds just absolutely non-intelligent to me. And it actually, to me, destroys your credibility that you sit up and then you're saying, oh, well, he was 7 for 12 with 3 touchdowns. Yeah, on the goal line. I mean, how that's such a small sample size. So that's why I was just like, and I think L Train, you knew I was gonna go off when you sent that text. I think you knew it. I think he knew that I was gonna lose it when he sent it. Yeah. I mean, I went berserk.
He wanted to spin you up intentional.
My goodness, and he got it. He got all of it because I was on fire, and I'm just like I said, eventually when training camp starts, and training camp is starting soon, then start talking to me about who's getting reps here and how many reps is being done here. A lot of folks are sitting back, and I'm one of them who I don't think that Shador is going to get the look that he absolutely needs. Now, there are some that have been watching him that's saying, other than Joe Flacco, he's one of the best quarterbacks out there. I just think it's going to come to training camp, you know, and of course the team is going to surround himself with Joe Flacco because they believe in him for what he did 2 years ago. I don't think they're sold on Kenny Pickett. I'm talking about the Browns, the team. I don't think they're sold on Kenny Pickett. I don't think they really look at Gabriel like that. I think because of Shador and what he brings to the table, and like I said, he's done everything that he needs to do as a rookie coming in. He's kept his mouth shut. He's answered all the questions that he needs to answer, and he just comes out there and he just works. So all that hoopla and blah blah that everybody talks about with Shador hasn't endured that. So, but no, can we, that's like, when I think about OTAs, I think about you sitting at your child's little league game and taking his batting average and stats on a 7-year-old. Like, really? Come on, man. Just watch your kid play. So, yeah, don't send me no more stuff like that, L. Trey.
Send him something else again Tuesday, Lionel.
Oh, yeah,
Send
I'm
him
going to get him
Tuesday.
fired up. I'm going to get him fired up. He
Yeah,
went to
Tuesday.
Facebook, T. He went to Facebook. I was cracking up. Hey.
There's one more, though, and I'm hoping that we'll get into this. You sent one. I really didn't answer it. I answered it, but I really didn't answer. And that was the OTAs and Myles Garrett not showing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I wanted to get y'all take on that. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, since we're here, let's talk about it. Myles Garrett didn't show up for OTAs. I kind of responded to it. I have my whole philosophy on it. I think here's the baseline of it. When you're a vet like Myles Garrett, I don't think it's going to hurt him. And I don't think it's going to be, I'll use the word detrimental to the team in terms of its success. But what I will say is, Myles Garrett, you just got the bag from the Cleveland Browns. You are a leader on that team. So optics are really important, especially in the stage where the Cleveland Brown is right now as an organization, as a team. Leadership is paramount. So I don't think it's completely out of pocket. I would have hoped that Myles Garrett would have had a little bit more forethought into showing up to that, because I do think that does make a difference. I do think stuff like that sets the culture, and I do think that it promotes leadership, which he is, whether he thinks he is or not. He's a leader on that team. So I get both sides of it. I'm on the side of he should have been there. He should have shown up. The team just invested in you heavily when you said you wanted to leave, and not being there is just bad optics, and as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, before you go, Rod, here's my thing. And again, I know it's just voluntary, okay?
Mhm.
However, did the Browns pay him that bag to become a leader because he's really not a leader? Or is it just for sacks, okay? Now, furthermore, my concern is because the military and sports are somewhat similar, especially when it comes to leadership, but I'll take ours even a different step. Because we're, in the military, it's all about us being a killing machine. Now, I was a Navy chief, furthermore, a senior chief. And there was a lot of times, there was places I didn't want to be there, but I had to be there.
Yes.
I had to be there because of what the Navy was paying me and what my rank was. So I had to be there. Now, my concern in this instance, again, is those young guys on the team. Shador and the kid out of Oregon and the other kids on that team, the rookies. What message does it send them when your highest paid player who's supposed to be a leader isn't there? That was my concern. What message does it send them? So that's why I, took it to y'all. Because again, like I say, there was a lot of times I didn't want to be in certain places, but I had to be there.
Right. And so for me, I'll go a couple different ways. I like to take, T's analogy when it comes to, the service and places you don't want to be, but you had to be. So for you, it's because you have a sense of integrity of being a leader. You understand that being a leader, there's things that you not necessarily want to do, but there are things that you have to do. Okay. I question Myles Garrett's leadership ability. Okay. And just because you threw $40 million at him is not going to automatically make him a leader just like that.
Yep.
That just made him whatever he is. That just made him $40 million of whatever he is. Where the three of us can sit here and say, okay, well, if you pay me $40 million, then my responsibility, in my mind, is that I'm going to be that leader. I'm going to show up. I'm going to lead by example. Listen, if somebody gave me $1 million, I'm going to lead. I got no problem with that. But that's just the mentality that the three of us have. Mm-hmm. Myles Garrett does not have that mentality. That's one. Number two, we must understand. I understand the optics, but it is voluntary. Okay, I'm going on different points. This is voluntary, which means he didn't have to be there. He should have, but he didn't have to. Okay, But also, Joe Batonio wasn't there. Greg Newsome was not there. I think they got a receiver, a veteran receiver, DeAndre Johnson. He didn't show up. Now, he should have showed up because he's on his last leg. He's about to be where he's out of the league, but he didn't show up, okay? We also don't know how it was communicated to Kevin Stefanski, okay? We don't know that. We don't know the ins and outs of that, okay? So, no, I'm not giving Myles Garrett a pass. You made $40 million once which to me was hush money. But that said right there, you need to lead this team. So, yes, I agree with T. He should have been there. But I'm going to play the other side of the fence also and say, hey, if it's voluntary, if you're telling me I ain't got to show up. Now, me as a football coach, we had a lot of voluntary things that we told the kids. It is voluntary. That's what we did. So they knew, yeah, it was voluntary, but it's mandatory. You better show up if you're trying to play. Okay, but so Myles will be there at training camp. He's going to do what he do. Now, if you've seen his workout videos, Myles Garrett is a monster. He's not going to come in there out of shape. He's not going to come in there lagging. He's not. He's going to be ready. But I understand and I agree with what you're saying, L Train. I agree with what you're saying, T. But we also got to look at it is he really a leader? Does he look at himself as a leader? I don't think he does. I think he just looks at himself as one of the top defensive ends in the game. If he stays on this pace, surefire Hall of Famer. I don't look at him as a leader. I didn't look at Lawrence Taylor as a leader. I didn't. And Lawrence Taylor is the greatest of all time, one of the greatest of all times. And I never looked at Lawrence Taylor as a leader. When you talk to some of his teammates, Lawrence Taylor was not portrayed as a leader when he played with the Giants.
Yeah,
so
Harry Carson was the leader on that team, I believe.
Yeah, Harry Carson good call. Harry Carson was the guy on that team. Okay, but then you have people like Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was the unquestioned leader on that Ravens team. Well, why? He was the first one there. He was the last one to leave. He held people accountable. Okay, we look at Myles Garrett. This is the same guy that took a helmet off a Pittsburgh Steeler and tried to club him with it. Let's not forget who that is. Let's not forget that he got in, he rolled his car in the middle of a season. I don't think Myles Garrett truly is a leader. I think he's a great football player, but he's not a leader.
Yeah, people are quick to put that leadership tag on a lot of different players that don't quite have the attributes that you would want in a leader. I look at Justin Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
He had missed the last 2 OTAs. He missed it last year, and he missed it the year before. He got his bag last year, and now we have a new quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. So I said to myself, I want to see if Justin Jefferson is going to be there. Long story short, Justin Jefferson showed up in OTAs last week. Matter of fact, the Minnesota Vikings had 100% attendance last week for their OTAs. And it just shows me the level of want to with that team. And I'm not saying every team has to have 100% attendance, but the things that I wanted to see to check off a lot of boxes for me happened this week with the Minnesota Vikings. So I was really, really happy to see that. Fellas, when you look at the NFL, is there a team that stands out to you that has really gotten better in your eyes with the draft now being over, free agency now being over, and OTAs, the first round of OTAs just ending? Is there a team out there where you say, man, you know what? This team has gotten a lot better. I know the Chicago Bears are getting a lot of steam, but is there another team out there that you feel like has just gotten a lot better?
Let me go real quick. Definitely Washington, okay? And all of their players, I believe, showed up for OTAs, okay?
Okay.
So Washington is, they're ready. They're ready. Their quarterback is getting bigger. I saw a picture of him the other day. Man, he's in the weight room, and that's all he said is, I'm hanging around in the weight room. And another team, laugh if you want to, okay? The Carolina Panthers, okay? Their quarterback, they got that wide receiver, McMillan, okay? And then they got a running back, and they got a safety. Now, I don't know what their schedule looks like, but I think they're tired of being in the basement. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a vast improvement coming away from them, okay? So the Panthers and, definitely Washington, okay? Those are two teams, from at this point are saying, hey, don't forget about us, So those are my two.
So I'm gonna second that. I love what the Commanders have done. I think the Commanders have really built around Daniels in the draft. I did see, that young man been eating his rice and chicken, and he been lifting weights. He getting there. So I do love the Commanders. This sounds crazy, but I actually like what the Pittsburgh Steelers did in the draft. Other than the fact that they did not get a quarterback, which didn't make sense to me. Other than Will, they got Will Howard, but I love what they did draft wise in the draft. I don't know if that's going to equate right away because they still have some financial issues. They still got to pay TJ Watt. I don't know how they're going to pay him, if they want to make him willing to make him the highest paid defensive end. And so that's why be very aware of Jack Sawyer. They picked up Jack Sawyer in the draft, who's also an Ohio State Buckeye. And I'm telling you right now, he's TJ Watt's replacement. If they
the Steelers
cannot
don't pay a lot of money.
If they cannot sign TJ Watt, they will use him as an asset. They will get what they can for him, and they will replace him. That's the one thing about the Steelers that they have always done. And if you look at the Steelers' history, when they let people go, they don't flourish anywhere else. They don't. I mean, just look at their history. So I like draft-wise, and I'm saying draft-wise what the Steelers did, and I do like what the Commanders, I really like what the Commanders did.
Yeah, I'm going to third that. The Commanders, in my opinion, drastically improved, and I'm going to go by formula, and I said this because it's been proven. When you have a bona fide quarterback at the helm like Jaden Daniels, and he's under his rookie contract, that there is so much you can do with your team. You know, the only thing that can disrupt that formula is if your young quarterback is not up to task. And this young man is up to task. So now the Commanders can build around him until that rookie contract is done. It's kind of what I'm hoping for my Minnesota Vikings as well. If J.J. McCarthy is even halfway decent, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be in the conversation for multiple years because they don't have that big, heavy load, occupying so much money at the quarterback spot. So I agree with both of you guys. The Commanders are going to be tough. I'm going to have a hot take for you.
Okay.
All right? I'm going to have a hot take for you. I think the Ravens are going to be the number one team in the North. Okay?
Okay.
Number one team in the North, but that's not my hot take. I think when it comes to division, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to surprise some people, man. And I think in the division, I'm talking about division head to head. I'm not talking about stepping outside the division. I'm talking about within the division. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to win some games in that division. I'm not sold on the Cincinnati Bengals defense. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, their quarterback situation is a mess. And I just have a feeling that they're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. So I think getting Deshaun Watson out from underneath the center spot and putting a bona fide quarterback back there that can at least make good decisions, move the offense, because you saw in pieces what happened when Winston became the quarterback of the Browns. It was a completely different offensive team. I mean, he threw some picks, but the team just looked drastically different until that move happened. I think people aren't expecting a lot from the Browns. That's when the Browns are usually good, when there's not those expectations. And I can see the Browns being right behind the Baltimore Ravens in that division because I think they could arguably be better than the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think for sure they can be better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's my hot take on the Cleveland Browns.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
We'll roll with that.
No expectations. Do you got any expectations for them? I don't got no expectations for the Browns.
Now, real quick, I'm going to be honest. I honestly agree with L-Train, but I'll take it a step further. I think they're going to contend for a playoff spot.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I really, it's just something about the way things are being set up.
Yes.
I feel you, T. I feel you. You got that, man. I don't know, but
no, and I feel y'all because they're not that bad. They got some talent. They got some talent.
No.
Yes,
they got some talent.
I think what was being slept on is people saying that maybe Kevin Stefanski is on the hot seat or Andrew Berry's on the hot seat. No, I think it's Jim Schwartz. I think he's on the hot seat. They got him with the number 5 pick. They got him possibly the best tackle in college football in Mason Graham. They went and got Schlesinger from UCLA, who I've said before reminds me a lot of Clay Matthews Sr. He has a lot of Clay Matthews in him. And they did not they have to replace their at the safety position because Juan Thornhill went to Pittsburgh and he's going to stink in Pittsburgh just as bad as he stunk in Cleveland. Del Pitt is going to be in this defense again another year. I think they might put Ronnie Hickman as a replacement for Thornhill. We still got Denzel Ward.
Yep.
If Denzel Ward stays healthy, okay, then you got Newsome inside and, the young boy Emerson on the outside. With that front four, okay, I think the Browns are going to, I'm not saying they're going to beat the world, but I believe that they're going to be a playoff contender. They'll be in that playoff race. They're going to beat a couple of teams that they don't expect to be beaten. I know the over-under. I've seen the prognostication. The over-under is them winning like 4 or 5 games. I think they're going to do better than that. I really do. Because Kevin Stefanski has reinstalled his offense, his 11 personnel offense. You got 2 stud tight ends now. You got Jerry Jeudy on the outside. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be the bell cow running back. I think he's going to be the new Nick Chubb. As much as I love Nick Chubb, he's going to be the new Nick Chubb. I just see the Browns actually contending. Now, having said that, they could go 0-17, guys.
And it wouldn't surprise me.
And it wouldn't surprise me. But it's something about how they're constructing this team. They didn't tear it down. They just rebuilt it as they continue. I think they're going to contend.
Yeah, I've had a couple hot takes this show, and I feel strongly about all of them. I think, the Spurs are going to make a run at Giannis. Not saying they're going to get him. I just think they're going to make a big-time run at him. Another hot take for me, I think Aaron Rodgers will never play for the Steelers. I think he's going to retire.
Wow.
I don't think he's coming to the Steelers. And I think the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, QB1 this year, will be Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to find a way to Pittsburgh. Once Aaron Rodgers says, well, for sure I'm not coming, or Pittsburgh just gets tired of waiting. I mean, I think they're going to have to make a move at quarterback to be viable in that division. And so I don't think they're going to wait on Aaron Rodgers forever. So I think if they don't get him, I think they're going to find a way to acquire Kirk Cousins. Those are just some of my hot takes. And I think the Cleveland Browns are going to do a lot better than people are giving them credit for. Like Rod, you said, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on 17. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to have a better season. And I could see them being in that playoff conversation, man, come December. If they win a couple games in a row here and there, they win that. I can see that for the Cleveland Browns.
I can see Kirk Cousins being in Pittsburgh, too, because he didn't show up for OTAs.
No.
He didn't show up. He's getting ready to force the Falcons' hand. He is not trying to be a backup quarterback.
Yeah. They are not going to pay him that amount of money to be a backup when they can get something for him. And I think the only landing spot for Kirk Cousins right now may be the New Orleans Saints, but I think he would rather be in Pittsburgh than in New Orleans for sure.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even I learned something from the Odd Couple. From Three the Hard Way, I mean.
There you go.
Three the Hard Way.
Yeah.
There you go.
L Train out here shooting scuds right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Hey, well, the segment that everybody is talking about, I mean, I'm getting a lot of feedback from that. What's so funny about this is that everybody is coming up around me with their own start one, bench one, cut one, erase one. So this week, we got Hot Rod. I'm a little afraid, but, I'm ready to go. We got Hot Rod doing his take. Hot Rod, take it away, man. What do you got for start one, bench one, cut one, erase one?
All right, we gonna go a little boxing, all right? Let's do a little boxing here. Okay. So start one, bench one, cut one, and erase one. Here we go. Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, or Roy Jones Jr.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Okay, so you got Sugar, you got Hagler, you got Roy Jones Jr. Who's the other one?
Marvelous Marvin Hagler. No, I got Hagler. I got Leonard Hagler, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, and Roy Jones Jr.
Wow.
Do you want to go first?
Give me 2 seconds, yeah.
All right. I got to think about this one myself.
Man.
I got to think about this one myself. This is a tough one. Because I look at the 4, Rod, that you just gave, I wouldn't want to erase any of those. Because you're talking about erasing the history of someone that has just a great legacy in boxing, and that's tough for me.
Wow.
That's why. That's why it's tough like that, guys.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one. All right, let
That's
me go
why
ahead
it's
and
tough.
start. Let me go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna start from Palmer Park, Maryland. Sugar Ray Leonard from Landover
Okay.
/ Palmer Park, Maryland.
All
I'm gonna
right.
cut Tommy the Hitman Hearns. I'm gonna bench the late great Marvin Hagler, marvelous Marvin Hagler, the late great, God rest his soul. And I'm gonna erase Roy Jones. I'm gonna erase Roy Jones. I'm gonna erase Roy, who so many say was the best pound for pound fighter. Yeah, I'm gonna erase Roy Jones. That was a tough one.
Okay, so you went Sugar.
Sugar,
You went
cut Tommy Hearns, bench
okay.
marvelous Marvin Hagler, the late great, and erase Roy Jones.
All right. Well, I'm going to agree with you, T, and I am going to start Sugar Ray Leonard. Start there. I am going to bench, as Martin Lawrence called him, Tommy Get Hitman Hearns.
Get hit, man. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that's one of my favorite episodes.
That's one of my favorite episodes of Martin.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm benching Hitman Hearns. I am going to cut Roy Jones Jr. Ouch. And erase Marvin Hagler. That's where I am. Oh, that's tough. That's tough.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
All right, y'all ready? Here we go. I'm going to start Sugar Ray Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to bench Roy Jones Jr. I'm going to cut Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and I'm going to erase Thomas the Hitman Hearns.
Okay, Rod, let me ask you this. Why Roy Jr. as a bench? Give me your argument for that.
Roy Jones Jr. in the beginning, like I said, his hand speed, tremendous. Just tremendous. The downfall was just him hanging on too long and some of the losses that he's had. He's had some incredibly bad losses at a point where, I mean, Antonio Tarver just absolutely dominated him. And it was time when Roy just needed to step away. The reason that I erased Hearns, that was hard. I made this hard. I knew, and I just came off the top of my head with this one. It's really hard because Thomas the Hitman Hearns, to me, what I remember with him was the greatest one-round fight of all time between him and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Man. That wasn't a boxing match. That was a fight.
That was a fight.
You understand? And so that was, I mean, it was like two dudes in the street getting at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was down at Woodhill Park.
Exactly. Exactly. I cut Hagler. It was really hard, but I was just like, when you look at the scope of that division, you know, you really didn't think about Marvelous Marvin Hagler, even though he was pound for pound one of the greatest fighters of all time. You just didn't think about him. And when I just thought this up, I'm like, not too sold on Marvin Hagler because, yes, his fight with Hearns was great. He also had a great fight because there's one I left out, which was Roberto Duran.
Yeah. Duran.
I left Roberto Duran out. Okay. So I could have easily threw Roberto Duran in there, but Sugar Ray Leonard, come on, man. Sugar Ray Leonard was, you know, the only other person I saw that reminded me of Sugar Ray Leonard was Sweet Pea Whitaker, pound for pound. So I'm glad this one was hard. I wanted to make it hard for you.
It was very hard. Well, fellas, let's get to our parting shots. Another segment that people have been giving us pretty good feedback about. I don't know who wants to go first. Whoever wants to go first for the parting shot, go ahead.
Let me go real quick. I hate to see the TNT Inside the NBA crew on TNT go away. Now, I know they're going to be moving over to ESPN, but I don't think that show will be the same. You know, when the NBA was on TNT, that was the biggest thing for TNT, and then other programming that they had. And now that the NBA is gone, who's going to turn to TNT for any kind of programming? So I hate to see those guys leave TNT. Even my wife watches that show. She loves it. So hate to see them go, but curious to see what it'll look like once they get to ESPN owned by Disney. You know, I don't think they'll be able to say the things and Chuck be the way he is and all the silliness and the craziness going on. So I really hate to see that show go away. I really do. Inside the NBA on TNT.
My parting shot is to the late, great Phil Robertson. Duck Dynasty, the Duck Commander, passed away this week. And what a lot of people do not know is that Phil Robertson at Louisiana Tech was a quarterback. And actually, he started over Terry Bradshaw. And Terry Bradshaw, to this day, says that if Phil Robertson would have gone pro. He would have been a Hall of Famer. But what he did was he actually quit football after college, and he created his brand, which created the show Duck Dynasty. He was the Duck Commander, and Phil Roberson was a devout believer, and just listening to him, he was a great man. So
yeah,
rest in peace to
No
Phil
doubt.
Roberson,
Yeah.
and we celebrate, a very wise man. So that's my parting shot today.
That was a good one.
Two great parting shots. I'm going to piggyback off of T's parting shot with the TNT crew. A lot of people have been asking me, if they're still going to be together, what's the big deal? I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the emotional goodbye that they had after the Pacers game, and you can see the emotion on the stage, and people were like, well, they're going to ESPN and ABC. Why is everybody so emotional about it? Well, here's the value of something great. This is the best pregame, postgame show ever in the history of sports. So when you look at the landscape of that, I mean, that's pretty impressive in itself. But to get to that standpoint, fellas, the people that aren't seen on camera, the makeup artists, the production people, all the people that create that big infrastructure so the talent can do its job, all those people are going to be different. And so when anybody ever asks me why this is a big deal, I'm going to tell them, not that the show isn't going to be good, but you will see the difference when it goes to ESPN. It won't be the same as TNT. And those guys know it. Chuck, Shaq, Kenny the Jet Smith, Arnie, I mean, all those guys knew it. And they know it. And so, I just hats off to the people that work behind the scenes to create such a great show. It will be different. It's unfortunate that show has to end on TNT. Had some great years watching them, man. It's a show where you could have no sports on and just have them do their thing, and you would watch that show. Great job for the fellas on TNT. Well, fellas, that's a wrap. Another great show. I appreciate, again, your time, Hot Rod and T. Three the Hard Way is growing. People out there, please hit that like and subscribe button. It only takes a second. It's really important to keep us being able to pump out the content and keep this show going in the direction that it wants to go. So please take the time to hit that like and subscribe button. We are growing every week, so we appreciate you tuning in to watch. Hot Rod, T, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for another great show.
All right.
Hey,
appreciate y'all. Y'all gentlemen have a
everybody.
great week, and hurry back next Sunday. Hurry back.
Absolutely.
Everybody
Three the
have a
Hard
great
Way.
week.
Three the Hard Way signing off. We'll see you when we see you.
All right, fellas.